Right, everyone, last beer before we begin. Everyone's got a drink. Everyone's cool. Everyone's relaxed. Thanks everyone for coming. Hi investors, instead of letting you suffer through bad audio, I'm taking this opportunity to give those of you who couldn't make it to our investor night a concise version of the presentation. Collusion started a year and a half ago when my housemate Nav and I saw a big obvious truth. We still carried our laptop and pen and paper to every meeting we went to, in addition to our shiny new iPads, which we should have been using, but we didn't. It's not like people don't want to use their iPads in meetings. They start with their iPad, but at some point switch to the laptop or pen and paper instead. That's the big obvious truth number 2. iPads are not yet the productivity tool of choice. We realized that most productivity softwares just added a pen to the iPad and let you draw on it, turn the iPad into a $1,000 piece of paper, and this really isn't much of a solution. Tablet computers should be capable of so much more. This was the third less obvious truth. People hadn't thought of iPads with styluses as anything more than a piece of paper. They'd forgotten about its processing power, ubiquity, and that it's an internet-connected device. And that's why we're here. Nobody has figured out how to make the iPad, or any tablet for that matter, the productivity tool of choice. Since I'd spent much of my 2000s developing tablet technology and Nav has commercialized over 300 consumer electronics products, we saw a massive problem with massive potential. There's an iPad sold every second. Now that's over 87,000 a day. They're the most popular technology product in all of history, yet no one has figured out how to make it more useful than a laptop or pen and paper. And that, gang, is why we decided to build Collusion. We're inspired by Google Wave, which was led by Lars Rasmussen and developed right here in Sydney. Some of the ideas in it were brilliant, and we wanted to bring them to the iPad. We started on a search to find someone extraordinary who could build it, and after 8 months and 26 interviews, we found Sumo. We'd had 8 months to think long and hard about what we wanted Collusion to do. So we said to Sumo, we want to reimagine Wave, we want to do it on the iPad, and we want to do it with writing, drawing, all sorts of media, and it's going to be about real-time collaboration. Really revolutionary stuff, mate. Can you build it? And he was like, uh-huh. And well, 6 weeks later, we had our prototype. Sumo, let me tell you, is pretty damn good. Then we decided to build out the rest of our team. We've got Navdeep Sahni, our COO, Sumo Samit Patel, I just mentioned. We've got Zach Altman and Zach Schenker for both front and back end development, David Field, our media guy, Lance Collette for graphic design, and Ryan Wardell, who's our operational support. We went on Kickstarter and did well. We're actually the most successful project to come out of Australia. We have an excellent team who have been working hard and getting great results. Now, we're on the hunt to grow our crew and take on bigger challenges. So, what is Collusion? It's a new tool that blends paper notebooks, whiteboards, real-time cloud synchronization. It's a general-purpose tool, like a word processor, but far more versatile and built for collaboration from the ground up. Everyone's text, images, pen strokes are shared across everyone else's iPads via the cloud. So taking notes, developing ideas, and any other group task is made more intuitive, faster, and generally easier. Collusion turns the iPad into a great productivity tool, and industries are popping up all over the place wanting to use it in different ways. Forensic departments want to map out floor plans, take photos, and communicate with other investigators back at base, so the whole team doesn't have to be deployed. Construction and engineering companies want all their people on site to work off the same plan and be able to update them in real time. Lawyers want to countersign contracts and coordinate information for attorneys during trials in real time as well. Collusion has massive applications in the classroom for collaborative learning, and uni students want to take their notes on lecture slides as a group. And the medical, financial, retail, and many other sectors all have their own ideas on how to use Collusion. Collusion has huge implications for anyone who takes an iPad to work, so we're building it for scale. We want 5, 10, 20 million people to use this technology concurrently, which is why we're learning from Google Wave and its brilliant ideas. We have Alex North advising us, and he's a former lead Google Wave guy. Also, if you happen to be a former Wave dev, you should really drop us a line. So, that's where we're at. Now for 2 big announcements. Our first big announcement is that due to extraordinary demand from major corporates at home and overseas, we're going to develop an enterprise product. Our plan is to do this in Australia in partnership with several major corporations, including AMP and ANZ Bank. They're supporting application to the second stage of the Commercialisation Australia grant program as well. If we're able to access the grant, we will set up a permanent office in Sydney with a team of 20 people to commercialise Collusion for Enterprise, then take this groundbreaking technology to the world. The second big announcement is that Collusion is entering into a strategic partnership with Woolworths Limited. Now, Woolworths is Australia's largest retailer. It's also one of the largest employers in the country. This company has committed to both alpha and beta trials of Collusion, and it's also supporting our application to Commercialisation Australia grant program. So, what's next? We plan to close out this round of investment, deliver our beta, then with the support of New South Wales Trade and Investment Director Jason Seed, we're moving to Silicon Valley, and from there we're going to grow our team and build great technology. We'll launch Collusion's consumer product late in Q1 next year, build our user base, and then head into Series A financing. Now, on to the investment. We have two offers. One is for non-accredited or small investors with a limit of 15 places. The other is for accredited or sophisticated investors, and both are in the form of a convertible note. If you're interested in investing into Collusion, you need to click on the investor link at collusionapp.com and register. We'll review your registration and send you an information memorandum and term sheet. That's it for me. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Cheers. Have a chat with the team. Any questions?
What's the total being raised?
We are starting with a mill and see how we go. We may bump it up, but basically a mill is where it's at in terms of what we need plus a buffer. Yeah.
Rob, when do you want the money in the bank?
You'll be able to deposit the money in the bank in about 20 minutes onwards. We would like to close off most of these investors in the next 2 weeks. We've been talking to several sophisticated investors over the last 2 months. There's been a bit of a ramp up, there's been a lot of discussions and stuff. Most of those guys are ready to go. We expect that probably between a half and a 2/3 of that mill is already spoken for. But we haven't officially taken any notes or any contracts from anyone. So as of right now, it's open.
What's your current burn rate?
Current burn rate is about 20. Oh, Matt, you might see a way.
20.
So we're extremely lean. That's going to change though.
So there must be a fair degree of deferred payments and those kinds of things in it?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you about how we do things with our team. So basically, there's a mix of both equity and cash for our team. Every month, there's basically, all our team members have an agreed package at the size of the founders. So basically, each employee, out of their monthly salary, can nominate the proportion of equity and cash. So they can ratchet up and down and change the proportion every month. So most of our guys are taking like the barest minimum cash because they want the equity, funnily enough. And it helps us keep our burn rate low. But also, we're lucky and fortunate we actually worked on this damn place, which is fantastic, which means low rent, great support infrastructure, fish burners is brilliant for actually keeping our costs low. And just being careful how we spend money.
How far does the mill get you? How long will the mill last?
Yep, well, at our current burn rate, a long time, but we're going to wind that up a bit. A mill should cover us just under 12 months. However, we're expecting to move into a Series A well before then, because there's stuff we'd like to do. So for us, it's less a question of this is all the money we need. This is more like this is the money we need to start before we go raise more. So bear in mind that a typical Series A for a tech company like this would involve raising in the order of maybe anywhere between 10 to maybe $16, $17 million of capital. So we're looking to scale, not keep this small for very long. Yeah, sorry.
I'm curious how you're handling your inventory.
Yep. So inventory-wise, we currently work on a pre-order model. So basically, there's about a 4-week delay between when we take orders and when they ship. That allows us to basically keep our inventory very low. That'll wash up until the point where we want to launch commercially with our global distributors. By the way, we've had about 35 international distribution inquiries for the technology, which is great. but part of that capital, that 250,000 goes towards inventory during that launch. But we do expect to be raising more capital through the Series A, which will give us a far bigger buffer and allow us to scale.
Can you talk a little bit about your go-to-market, like distribution channel?
Yeah, sure. As I said, we're actually not thinking too much about it at the moment. We've got 35 distribution inquiries internationally. We've got major chains. Dick Smith has stuck their, I know it's Dick Smith, but Dick Smith has stuck their hand up to say, look, we'd love to sell this product as soon as it's available, so let's assess it, let's look at it, let's get it on our shelves, that's great. We're having similar discussions with the other major local retailers, but we're looking at the big ones in the States as well, which is great. But initially, we're going to sell, basically continue to do pre-orders through our website. It's very small scale. We're not too focused on the consumer revenue yet. We're more focused on basically getting this product right and proven. Because our value as a company, and some of the sophisticated investors will probably guess this already, Collusion's value is, as an investment, is mostly around a strategic acquisition. So we can do brilliant stuff with this. It's just 10% or maybe 5% of what Google could do with it, or another large major player, or Apple, or one of the big guys. So you imagine this technology in their hands, and they could ratchet up the market and make things happen. This is why we're looking to a Series A in the States, because those Tier 1 VCs will basically enable us to work with those large corporations and basically find us and our investors an exit and make the technology go like that. This is great, you got heaps.
I'm just curious, who are you, like, from a competitive point of view, who keeps you awake at night?
Not too many people. I know that may sound like an incredibly naive answer, but we're dealing with fairly bleeding edge innovation, and we run as fast as we can. So we actually don't worry too much about our competition at this point. It's not really much of a neck-and-neck race. I don't think there's a lot of attention being paid yet in the tablet productivity space. I think it's going to heat up hugely in the next 6 to 12 months. But I think we were fortunate enough to start thinking about this well before the market started to wake up. Sorry.
Have you put much thought into globalization?
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I have to restart re-recording. The camera's turned itself off. In terms of globalization, there's two elements really. There's technology, so how do we actually make this thing work 24/7 globally? So we're looking into data centers and technology partners in the States and Europe. The second part is basically distribution and support. Once again, that's down to these distributors and potentially large commercial partners. So that's no other question. I should also mention that part of our model around that and the enterprise stuff is really where it's at in terms of global. So the consumer stuff's pretty straightforward. There's an app you buy and there's a pen you buy to start with. That's really interesting. I think at some point, probably in the next 12 months, you'll be buying the Collusion app and maybe not the pen. I won't go too much into it more than that, but that's going to change the nature of distribution and rate of take-up, etc.
By globalization, I mean the foreign language.
Oh, okay. Yep. So our basically we're licensing our OCR technology, and a big part of that is OCR and character recognition technology from a French company called Vision Objects, which support I think 12 different languages. So mostly Asian, French, Italian, German. So in terms of a good product that will work globally, yep, we've got it covered. We haven't actually got a business model around it yet, but the technology's there.
Are you looking solely at the iPad, or are you looking towards Android tablets, Windows 8 tablets?
Yep, so as I was talking about before, this Collusion is a software platform. Only a small part of it is the app. So it will be iOS, which is what we're doing at the moment for the iPad. It will also be Android, it will also be Windows tablet, and also critically HTML5. Now one thing I really haven't touched on is the fact that HTML5 runs in a browser. Okay, what can run a browser? Well, anything hooked up to a projector or television. So all of a sudden, this is a display and sharing technology as well. So imagine sitting in a boardroom, oh yeah, it's doodling something, let's just flick it up on the big screen there. Let's flick up on the big screen to the guys the other end of the phone call in Chicago as well. So that works just fine. So we are thinking about multi-format very much so.
Have you got a timetable for an API or SDK?
I was trying not to talk about that, now you've asked me. we might as well talk about it. We are working on an API and SDK, a roadmap. It's tied in with the enterprise version, and it's a linchpin of the technology. Now, we talk about Collusion as a generalist tool. It's like a word processor or a spreadsheet. The nature of it's different, but you could apply it to any one of 1,000 different tasks. What we found by talking to these corporations and businesses and hospitals and banks is that they're like, oh, that'd be great, but only if it did that, and that also. So it became very apparent very quickly we're going to have to create an API and an SDK to allow third parties to build on our platform. And that's very much our model. So we'll sell the base technology, other guys can come in and build stuff on top, profit off it. The banks might have their own software guys they can use. Fine, absolutely, go for it. And that'll be our approach. So we'll go with this guy. Sorry, in the picture?
So we've talked about the enterprise space, but have you got ambition for volumes?
Yep, certainly do. We reckon, in terms of enterprise client, so typically enterprise tracks through, I don't know too much, but the way the world works is that you do a trial and you do a full-size deployment. By about June next year, we're aiming to be doing between 5 and 10 trials a month, and by August next year, to be closing about 1 enterprise customer a month to start with. I know it sounds small, but these enterprise customers to us are worth about $2 million a piece.
An enterprise customer being what scale?
We'd say typically about 4,000 units. Yeah, to start with. We've had enterprise customer inquiries up to 35,000 units. That was the largest one. That was a global bank that would like to put a Collusion or several Collusion tablets in every bank branch across 65 different countries. So there's customers like that too. But yeah, there's a big range. Also schools as well. We've had over 100 schools inquire and wanting to buy the tablet, our technology, and those deployments are about 300 units a piece. So you can easily do the math on that too. So in Australia alone, we see in the next probably 12, 14 months, $10 to $20 million of sales pipeline locally. Internationally, where you can just look at the States, we're looking at a significant multiple. So we're hoping to basically perfect a lot of the technology here for our enterprise, schools, banks, and export it globally. But do it quickly.
So what kind of costs are involved for clients of the?
Yeah, excellent. So as you guys know, we include for our consumers 500 megabytes of free cloud service, so half a gig forever. So the intention is if you tip over that, we'll start charging you $1 or $2 a month for a gig or something like that. So the idea is on the consumer level, it's very affordable and there's a lot of benefit associated. The actual pricing, we're going to try and learn and basically determine through the beta trial with you guys. So we want feedback to find out, well, what's a good pricing model around that. So we've got analogs such as Dropbox, but unfortunately that's just storage. Our tech is quite different in that it's a whole collaboration platform and the world's fastest cloud, which actually doesn't come cheap. So there's a bit more cost associated aside from storage. In terms of the enterprise side, obviously we don't do 500 megabytes free, all that sort of stuff. But there will be basically a cloud service fee per user or per size, and we haven't decided which model to go for. We've charted both, the revenue is similar. We're just going to figure out what's best for the customer.
Any particular reason why it wouldn't work for the iPhone?
None at all, except that the pen's this big and the iPhone's that big. It just feels a little awkward. We are actually exploring the idea of having a basic app that will go with the iPhone as well, so more for viewer and basic bits and pieces of work. But as a total user experience, it's a bit inferior. Mind you, it would get you out of a jam sometimes, so we are thinking about it.
Rob, you mentioned the world's fastest cloud. How much faster are they than anyone else?
Well, actually, we have the CEO of our partner here, our partner company, Orion VM, and their CEO here, Shake Yo, who's waiting. Shake, how fast is Orion VM say against Amazon EC2 or something?
So Orion's quite a bit faster than Amazon. It depends on what specific workload. Some of that Collusion where we're just in the middle of things, just a little bit. But something like Collusion where you've got a lot of random users using the platform at the time, we accelerate those applications by 10 to 15 times. And the new platform that we're working on now delivers a 48 increase of that as well. So we're working with Collusion to actually roll it out globally, to hopefully meet our global expansion strategy at the same time with Collusion rollout.
So the sort of benefit that we're looking at is about 40-fold increase over Amazon. Hi, Warner. How you doing, mate? Gonna kill me for that. But we love Amazon too. We also use Amazon Web Services as well. Because basically not everything needs to be blinding fast. So things like bucket story for images and content, that goes to Amazon. It's cheap, it's a bit slow, it doesn't matter. But things like real-time collaboration, we use the best service in the world. Developed right here in Sydney, we're on Bathurst Street, around here. So yeah, great global guys. And kicking ass, by the way. We're a bit tired. Just did a product launch. Other questions? How are we doing? Yes?
About 5 people now. You're about 5 people now.
6 or 7, thereabouts. Yep. We're looking
12 months' time.
12 months' time, we'll probably have about 35 people in the States and another 20 here. So we've been visually interviewing. Yep, and about 20. Yeah, so about 50 people. So we've been quietly interviewing a whole bunch of guys locally. So we've been almost putting together a bit of a shadow team hit list. So if we're successful with the federal government, I'll keep alluding to it, I'll just talk about it. So
Commercialisation strategy.
that's it.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Okay, well
That's it, that's why. For the guys, people that don't know, there's a fantastic program called Commercialisation Australia, which does dollar for matching up to $2.35 million to help commercialise really good technology. We've been approved for it through stage 1. Halfway through stage 2 process, unfortunately Wayne Swan put his pause on all grants nationally. So we're left in a bit of an awkward position where we've got a whole bunch of banks and corporations wanting to do this on one side, and the key being basically the capital required, half the capital in question. So if any politician happens to be watching this, please don't stop the program, because if we don't have that program support, we'll be forced to basically take those guys who we've been hiring locally and developing here, we'll have to move offshore, because we won't be able to get capital relocated, US capital relocated to Australia. So this is just one of the annoying things that happen sometimes, but fingers crossed it all works out well. The grant, we're successful in the second stage of our grant. The program is unpaused and the money comes and can work locally. Either way, Collusion moves forward, but Australia misses out on a massive benefit. Sorry, back to you.
I was just curious, are you going to demonstrate the products in New Zealand?
Yep, absolutely. So as soon as I stop yabbing on, we're all going to have a little play with the technology and also hoe into that pizza over there. Probably time for 2 more questions.
Okay. I think you mentioned that you are limited just to 20 small investors, is that correct?
Yep.
Is that because you just don't want too many small investors on the books? Or?
In part. So the limit is 35 in the States. Small investors raising up to 5 million. We have to walk you through a whole bunch of stuff and show you financials and say, do you understand this as well? So you cover under SEC rules. But basically, so we want to keep a little bit of elbow room just in case. So we limit it to 20, and the first 5 that come in basically are locked in. And the following 15 will take the top 15 investors in terms of what they're saying they're going to invest. And that minimum is 100K, and our threshold for sophisticated investors is 100. One more.
So it's not actually an investment, it's a loan.
It is, yeah. But I'm assuming by loaning some money you hope to get a return. So it is a loan. Also mentioned that as a convertible note, it does convert to stock. That's the intention. So you guys will get, those investors who decide to participate in it, will get a slice of what the venture capitalists get in the Series A cap raise, just a better deal than they get. Which is good, because they do all the hard bargaining and negotiating for you, try and drive us down or fight them back.
Can you mention who are any of the VCs you're talking to?
I cannot, because they don't like being named. But they are tier 1s. They are tier 1s. We also have some great local interest from some local VCs too. But it's really down to a question of who will be interested in buying the company at some point as a tier 1 player. And part of why raising the capital is to go out to the valley and talk to those guys and say, with this big, would Collusion on Google be really awesome, or would it be a Facebook thing, or would it be a Samsung thing, or an Apple thing? Who knows? We're going to go out there, we've got to talk to them, we've got to find this out. And then once we've got that established, we'll see which VC would fit that sort of acquirer. Because then we've got to go build the rest and get big market traction and 100 other things. Okay, well.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I guess I missed them. So why are you going straight to those VCs?
Well, we will be. But very.
Why are you doing this way?
Yep. You've got to hop on a plane, you've got to fly there, you've got to set yourself up, and you've got to feed your team. As I said before, we did this on the smell of an Aussie rag. We've taken no investment capital. We're eating beans, and that's about it, and running on fresh air. So even though we are revenue positive, we are profitable, it's only at a very small scale. It's not enough to sustain us. So we do need to take investment. So that's the nature of it. And the other thing is, you don't want to be walking into a venture capitalist and they say, oh, so what's your burn rate, Rob? And I go, oh, it's 150 grand. Actually, I'm just saying this off the top of my head, I'm just a new guy trying to pitch my stuff to VC, and I said, oh, that's great. How much money you got left in the bank? Oh, 150 grand. Okay, I'll talk to you in 4 weeks. And that's what happens. So it's a far better idea for us to have plenty of money in the kitty when we wander into a VC and say, hey guys, doing a deal. One of the first questions will be, what's your burn rate? And we'd love to come back and talk to you as soon as you're running the money.
Closing question, have you been down this VC path before?
Oh yes. Yeah, I'm an old hand in the Australian entrepreneurship scene. I've built several startups, done some exits. I've also been in a position where at one stage, $135 million valuation for my startup, a $65 million deal with a tier 1 US VC, and I got tripped up by a local VC who couldn't find the money because the foreign VC just wanted $2 million from the local VC. So I'm wary, I'm well aware of what we've got, and I like to keep our options open too, to protect our investors and interest to make sure this is highly successful. Anyone else? I'm scaring people now. No. All good? Okay, well guys, thanks so much. I know it's boiling hot in here. Cold beer in the fridge, pizza's there. Talk to our guys, and thanks very much for listening. Yeah. All right, so we're going to plant some iPads.